5:30 on BT. You're killing me here, Rob. Why would we cut it out? Good welcome to Wednesday's Talking Reds. For those of you who don't know, my name is Stewart, and this golden glistening man standing next to me, or sitting next to me, should I say, is Mr. Rob Gutmann. How are you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good, man. It's good to be back.
Yeah, you've been away for a while, haven't you?
About 3 weeks.
Seems like a lifetime.
Yeah, I have to be good to myself.
Well, that's true. We all do. We
Yeah.
all need to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, but I've spent the weeks fruitfully just refreshing Twitter endlessly, looking for transfers that won't come. But with more of that later, I believe.
Yes, more of that later. Now, most of today's show is going to be taken up by what happened last night, which is the Reds got over the line in their pre-season marathon with a defeat of Torino by 3-1. Now, were you at the game? Were you watching the game?
I was at Anfield, yes.
You were at Anfield. I mean, I was watching on TV, unfortunately, but it looked like a great atmosphere. Was it a great game as well?
It felt like a real game for the first half.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was one of the all-time great Anfield atmospheres. In fact, the atmosphere was coming from the Torino lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there was about, I don't know, like a small contingent of them, but they made a hell of a racket. They were really, really good supporters from start to finish. In fact, early on they held up a banner, which I was in Italian, which I was trying to translate for my kids. I've recognised some words in it, like the word merde, meaning shit. And I was stumbling my way through it, and these Italians in front of me listened to me and said, what that means is, it says something like, scuse a merde, chiamo uve, or something like, which means, sorry shit, you're worse than Juventus. I thought, we think our cop banners are cheeky.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite impressive. Anyway, your serious answer to your question was, in the first half it felt like he picked as near as damn it a first choice team, I think everyone would estimate it as being. And there was a tempo to it, and there was a murmur enough in the crowd that it felt like it was a reasonable simulation of a real game. Second half was much more like a pre-season friendly.
Yes. And it's strange that it kind of happened that way around. I mean, you say that it was like a first choice 11. I was slightly surprised to see Moreno starting.
Yes.
And disappointed that Gomez didn't end up starting, because I don't know whether he's had a knock or whether or not he's just played more in pre-season than everyone else, but
I can tell you.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I inquired on this one on Twitter, and journalists said he was experiencing some minor tightness. Ooh. Minor tightness.
That doesn't sound comfortable no matter what it is. But I mean, this is a kind of a remnant of pre-season though, because up until this point, we've all been lauding the fact that we seem more ready than everyone else. We've been put through our paces. More of our first team squad have been available than other teams. But it has been a long one, and we have started to pick up a few niggles towards game time. Now, do you feel like maybe we'd have been better off maybe shaving one or two off the front?
I don't know. This is when we get into the territory of that Dutch guy who used to like pulling Klopp up.
Yes, the egg.
Training the egg, him. Well, you know what? We can say they're picking up injuries, but I was surprised and pleased to see Lallana back.
Yes.
I thought, he suddenly disappeared from the squad last week, and I thought, well, this will be another one of those indeterminate injuries which keep you out for an indeterminate length, but not so. Gomez's one seems minor. There's a bit of talk of, suddenly we got no centre halves because we had Nat Phillips playing quite competently, and George Johnson comes on late on.
Fabinho got some time at centre back as well.
As did Marco Grujic. But we are forgetting that Degsy Lovren is only just back, having played in a World Cup final. So our first choice two are ready to go. Joe Gomez isn't far behind. I think Klavan's knock is very minor. Matip remains the worrying one. And I know, again, we're going to talk about it a bit later on, but if transfer business is still to be done, a lot of people would like, including me, for it to be a Fekir-level signing, but a cheeky little centre-half.
The pragmatic side of me agrees with you, definitely. I think the reliability or lack thereof of our centre-backs has been a question for a little bit too long for my liking, and none of them have really put themselves in a position to kind of end that question. And
Van Dijk's side, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, most of the niggles are, though they are slight niggles, is probably the guys being cautious and bringing them out of the team rather than it being something really bad. But it's interesting to see how that kind of plays out going in towards West Ham. Another question going in towards West Ham that came up from the game is at right back, because up until really recently, most people assumed Nathaniel Clyne would be the starting right back for the season. But the way that Trent has come back, he's hit the ground, not even just running, but actually flying. Like, I was really impressed with him last night, and I was in his cameo against Napoli. Now, obviously, he didn't play as much in the World Cup as some others, but with the next international break not that far on the horizon, I expect him to be more featured for England in that. Do you think that because he's a young man, we can keep him going, or would you still be looking to kind of start with Klein and bring him back a little slower?
Well, it's not so much about it's not about fatigue. It's about battle readiness, isn't it? At this stage of a season, he gets a week ahead of himself because he comes back earlier than Jordan Henderson. I agree with you. I thought it would come too soon for him, West Ham, but it doesn't look like it is. I think one thing we tend to assume, which I think the manager and the coaches on the ground realise isn't quite the case, is it's not like he didn't play football only 3 weeks ago. Albeit he wasn't a regular pick for England, he was in full training and given a holiday for 3 weeks. Now, if you had a player who was playing week in, week out for you, and he got a bit of a knock that kept him out for 3 weeks, you wouldn't be bedding him in over the course of a month to bring him back in.
No,
you might put him on the bench first game back, but you bring him straight back into his starting berth. Pretty handy. It's not the same as if I think you'd had someone out for 6-8 weeks, either through injury or a tournamentless pre-season. I think if that happened, if he hadn't kicked a ball for 6-8 weeks effectively, then there's no way he plays West Ham. No. I just think it's because he was in full training at peak fitness up to 3 weeks ago. And as you say, he's hit the ground running.
Yeah, and I think it is a very large difference. I mean, it's hard to second guess what Mal Pellegrini is going to do for West Ham in his first team. But from what I've seen, they look like they're going to set up with a kind of a 4-1-4-1 turning into a 4-3-3. And that three at the front would be Antonio, Arnautovic and Anderson, triple A's. Now, if you think about the qualities of those guys, I'd probably be more comfortable with Trent, who has not only the speed, but he's actually got better at the one-on-ones than someone like Klein for that. So that might make a difference in his thinking as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, West Ham's are an interesting project, aren't they? They've reassembled. I mean, a lot of people already there going, you better watch West Ham this year. There'll be, a shout for that prestigious 7th place, even though there'll be talk of breaking the top 6. But I have to say, without wanting to tempt fate too much, this was said about West Ham a year ago. They'd signed a glut of players people had heard of. People tend to go, I've heard of him, that must be a good buy. But people like Hernandez, who seemed like an absolutely really solid buy, had a really poor season mainly a poor season for them. I think a bit more lively in the World Cup, and they'll think maybe second season he shows for them. Who else did they brought? They brought in Jack Wilshere.
Felipe Anderson, Andrei Yarmolenko.
That's the one that interests me, Yarmolenko. You don't think he starts?
No, from what I'm looking through the rushes of West Ham's pre-season, he hasn't had a lot of game time in that time. And the game he did have, it wasn't as exciting or as effective as people were hoping he'd be. It may be that he needs a little bit more time to get comfortable. The fact that Mikel Antonio, who has been so effective for them when he's been fit, is fit. Yeah. And has good memories of playing well at Anfield as well. I suspect he'll get the nod in that game.
Yeah. I mean, he's nearly always delivered when I've watched him play. I mean, not just at Anfield. Generally, he's been a go-to man for them for seems like the past few years. I think it helps Liverpool that it's a West Ham which will have a degree of ambition about it. Whereas I think Pellegrini knows how to set the team up to be cautious if that's what the occasion demands, and they will be cautious.
Yes.
I don't think they will. I think they'll be quietly confident as well. They'll say we'll be compact and we'll bide our time and we'll look to take our opportunity to put Liverpool on the back foot, because Liverpool don't like being on the back foot. But in a way we do, because from there we hit you.
I think it's interesting because counter-attack is going to play a massive part in this game, I believe, because West Ham's best chance is getting us on the counter-attack, and if they try and fail, then they are putting themselves in massive danger coming the other way, I think. So
it's about committing bodies forward. How bold can they afford to be?
Yeah, and counter-attack defence was one of the issues that we'd had previously that we're hoping that Fabinho solves. How much have you seen of him pre-season? Personally, I was thinking again, Klopp's ideal situation would be that he wouldn't have to start the season, because if you're looking to play 6, particularly in a Klopp team, and you're asked to dictate the tempo, that's the kind of thing where you need time to develop the relationships with the guys around you in the squad. It's a hard job to come straight in and do straight off the bat. That's what I was thinking. So my mind was maybe he wouldn't start, but I think I'm starting to change my mind now. I think he probably is going to start.
I've watched every minute he's played of pre-season, and it's a role where I don't know what people expected to see, but he's been given a very pure number 6 role, which is really quite, in some respects, quite two-dimensional, and it's never going to jump out at anybody as a spectacular performance or set of debut performances. I think again it divides opinion, because I saw comments on the internet which wouldn't agree with my point of view, but I thought the first 45 yesterday he was very good. Okay, there was maybe one loose pass which people sort of focused on a bit too much, but I thought most of his play was very neat and tidy. I liked how he moved the ball quickly. They weren't just playing, say, 5-yard passes, as people like Lucas often got accused of overdoing, and players in that position do get accused.
We need them to be progressive in this Liverpool team.
Yeah, I saw a few times it came into feet. He spun with the ball in one motion, which can be taken for granted, and then squared it 20 yards across. So the move continued at quite a good pace. There was a moment where he sort of took a couple of strides forward and vertically put it into a man on the edge of the box and continued his own run. That's something I want to see a lot more of from him. I mean, Klopp's talked about the fact he could play number 8. I'd like to see him do that. I'd be quite intrigued to see him as in his fullback position, which is, his primary position once to quite recent times. He steps up to take his penalty yesterday. I'm saying to the guy next to me, who's virtually never heard of him, this Al fella, I goes, this guy's got something like ludicrous, like 39 out of 40 from his last 40 penalty take kicks. I said, watch it, he'll miss. Bang.
Oh, so it was your fault then?
Oh, it's 100% my fault.
I feel a little bit better now.
So I agree, just going back to your first point was, I agree. I think if Henderson come back a couple of weeks earlier, I think he'd have been the man in possession. And I think Fabinho might have had to bide his time to a fixture where he wants a double number 6, or he needed another midfield job performing. But Henderson literally only got his first pre-season minutes. He ain't starting against
I wasn't expecting him to get as many as 20 last night, to be honest.
No, neither was I. I wasn't at all. So Fabinho does start. It'd be nice for him to hit the ground running. I'd take a nice 6.5 out of 10 performance from him against West Ham. I wouldn't want one where you go, oh shit, he's going to take weeks to get up to the pace of this competition.
Yes, that's what I worry about as well. I mean, I think if we're looking at a midfield 3 of West Ham of Noble, Rice and Wilshere, I think he should probably be able to handle those. I mean, he towers above all of them anyway.
Yeah.
Now, for completing the lineup, I think the front 3 are going to start. Again, something I wasn't sure about 2 weeks ago, but looking at Firmino last night, a little bit rusty still, but I'd expect him to be the first substituted, but I still think he'll start the game.
Well, that's a tricky one for me. I think the temptation to put his best fit team on the pitch will be there, and to that end, Firmino looks like he's ready to give you a bit more than one half. But he hasn't come close to completing a game yet.
No.
It is a bit dangerous treating a Premier League fixture like a pre-season fixture in that you prescribe your substitutions like that, because you almost certainly can't give him more than about 65, 70 minutes at a push. You're really beginning to sort of risk injury and not getting a thing. The problem we've got is the first change for him is Daniel. Now, Daniel Sturridge, I mean, I'm excited every minute he's been on the pitch pre-season, but if you start with Daniel, you then have to give, he's the same situation but for other reasons.
Yes.
You have to go for him for an hour, 70 minutes perhaps. So there's risks either way Klopp looks. You ask me to put money on it, I think that Firmino gets the nod on the start.
Me too. Now, some of you may have noticed this rather fancy thing that I'm wearing upon my head. Doesn't quite match my shirt, but I'm new to this whole fashion business. But Tokyo Time are a fantastic company who are going to be sponsoring every Wednesday here on Talking Reds. And our main man, John Gibbons, had a chance to chat to the makers of this particular hat and many others. And here's what they had to say.
Tokyo Time is sponsoring Talking Reds for Wednesdays for the foreseeable future, which were made up about. They're a Liverpool company. They're trying to do things differently. They're trying to do things better, a bit like the Anfield wrap. And so they've set up only recently, but already got a lot of traction for kind of what they want to do. They helped us out in America. They gave us hats to wear over there, and very much needed. They were in that bacon sun next to the pitch watching the Liverpool boys train. So yeah, since then they've come in. They've asked us about doing something a little bit more formal. So that's what we're going to do. So they're going to be sponsoring Wednesdays on the Talking Reds for the foreseeable foreseeable future. If you're into your baseball caps, you're into your street style, or you know anyone else who is, and you're looking for presents to buy for people, do check out their website. It's tokyotime.co.uk, or follow them on Instagram. They've got loads of styles, something for everyone, and the fit is really, really good. So yeah, cheers to the boys for supporting us. They're supporting us, so do try and support them, tokyotime.co.uk.
Thanks to John for that, and we'll be hearing more from those guys over the coming weeks. Now, a little bit of a notification time for you. There's been some TV fixture changes coming up towards the October-November time, so I'm just going to read some of those out for you. A couple of big games are affected. Speaking of which, Manchester City at home is now on the Sunday, 7th of October. That's 4:30 kickoff live on Sky. Then Huddersfield away on the 20th of October is now Saturday at 5:30. That's a BT game. Arsenal away. Are you all right
Just
there?
keep going, don't mind me, I'm a pro.
Yeah, focus on me, people. Arsenal away, Saturday the 3rd of November, another 5:30 on BT. You're killing me here, Rob. Why would we cut it out? Fulham at home is now on a Sunday, the 11th of November, and now this one's at midday on BT. Which, boo to having a Sunday midday, especially one in West London. It just seems like a massive waste. But
It's a Sunday midday. Oh, that's
Yeah.
a go down Saturday job. Stay over Saturday, watch the game, come back after.
yeah, and I mean, for someone like me who works Saturday nights, I was kind of looking forward to going to that game because everyone's always going on about how fantastic Craven Cottage is for an away
many
game.
times, yeah.
That's basically put a harpoon right through my plan. So thanks, BT, you bastard. Okay.
You could not go to bed.
I mean, that is an actual possibility. I could not go to bed. What state I would be at the game is another matter. But
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. There's lots to happen between now and then. That's actually around about my birthday week as well. So
Plenty of reason not to go to bed.
my plan is following. Now, what else is happening here today in the world of the Anfield Wrap? Well, as you know, the transfer window is nearly closed, and I've got Mr. King transfer, the doyen of deals, as I like to call
Oh, I
him.
like that. Have you told me that before? I like the doing
Not,
deals.
not when you were around.
If you can talk about me behind my back, keep going.
Okay, well, so we've got a gutter show being recorded today. Now, if you want to give some people a preview, some of the things we might be talking about?
Well, I'm doing 2 shows today.
Wow.
I'm doing what we call the Gutter Show. If you're not familiar, it's the Transfer Show. The link is the Gutter Press. And then we do a show afterwards called the Overview Show, where we look at Liverpool's opening set of fixtures, funnily enough.
Oh, right,
and
yes.
we go, oh, by the end of the first international break, will we be top of the league, or will it be City or United, or whatever? So we speculate about, basically preview a job lot of games in one. But the Gutter Show is the prize turkey of
yes.
today's content. We're going to have a look at the prospects of any Liverpool business happening. Klopp refused to slam the window shut on us quite by saying, I don't know, who knows. He keeps doing that to us.
Bless him.
Bless him, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He doesn't want to kill our dreams,
You
even
lovable
though he
liar.
knows he can.
And we're looking at what the business our rivals are going to do as well, because some of them are in a big hurry, Spurs, and a few others who've just done F all business. So that's what's going to be. That's going to be a good fun show.
It is. And tomorrow on transfer deadline day itself,
Is that yeah, we planned that.
That's the deadline day siren, by the way. We're going to be doing some live shows, video and audio. I believe it's going to be running from 12 till right up on the deadline at 5 o'clock, or maybe a little bit over if there's some last minute deals. And we're going to have a rolling cast list of guests coming in and out and giving their thoughts, hosted mainly by John Gibbons, and that's going to be really a lot of fun. Looking forward to that. Even if there's not a lot of stuff happening from LFC, I predict there's going to be some big moves, some big teams which are going to affect us, so it's definitely going to be worth tuning in for.
Can we have that noise every time a transfer happens?
I reckon we can make that happen.
Do you know what I was thinking about today? The only time a last day was unbelievably exciting from a Liverpool point of view, in living memory, was how it has to be the Andy Carroll day, doesn't it? I've never known anything like that.
No.
But that sort of came from nowhere as well.
It
Imagine
did.
such a thing. So such a thing could happen again. Keep the dream alive, kids.
I mean, let's hope it's not exactly like that.
No.
But yes, there's plenty to come. And obviously, we're all really excited because the season's nearly here. The next time we get to see Liverpool play, it's going to be in the Premier League. It's got days away. We've got a couple more shows of Talking Reds to get there. And then it's just going to be all about football. So we'll see you there.